Hi, today we're going to learn how to use VPN to stay secure and private online. Wow, this is a tough job. Just kidding. When you use NordVPN, all it takes is just a single click. See for yourself. Click, and you're browsing securely on public Wi-Fi. Click, your ISP can't see what you do online. Click, and you're in a different country. Well, virtually. Any device you have there, NordVPN has you covered. Everything else is just details. But if you care to know more, NordVPN has more than 5,000 servers all over the world. It protects your sensitive data with advanced encryption, shields you from malware and phishing sites, and keeps no logs of your online activity.
Click link in the description and get 68% discount for your first order. Readying wicker for painting. Gather your supplies and equipment. You may have some of these supplies around your home, but if not, you should be able to find them with little difficulty at your local hardware store. You could also check the home improvement section of general retailers like Target and Walmart. You'll need bucket, diluted bleach optional for removing mildew and mold, drop cloth, dust mask, mask, liquid deglosser, mild soap, primer, acrylic spray-on primer, rubber gloves optional, recommended, sponge, spray paint acrylic, stiff bristle brush optional, recommended, vacuum with dust attachment or crevice tool. Choose and prepare your work area. Outside and away from your home may be the best location for your wicker painting. This way you don't have to worry about spray paint spreading to items in your home or your home itself. You should also always paint, prime, and stain in a well-ventilated area. Fumes can build up in small rooms or in those with poor airflow and become toxic. Lay down a drop cloth beneath your wicker furniture, even when outside. This will prevent grass, dust, and similar things from getting in the way of or sticking to your paint job. Choose a location that is out of the wind. Wind can make spray painting more difficult and could result in it blowing where you don't want it applied. Vacuum up dust and loose debris on the furniture. Wicker has a tendency to accumulate dust and dirtiness in between its weaving. Use your vacuum cleaner to suck up all loose dirtiness. A dust or crevice tool on your vacuum can help you better get narrow spots and in between the weavings. Dust and dirtiness left on your wicker will get in the way of your primer and paint bonding to it. Failing to clean your wicker first could result in a less than desirable finished result. If your wicker chair is relatively clean, you may only need to give it a quick vacuuming before moving on to priming the wicker. Wipe away stubborn dirtiness from the furniture. Fill your bucket with warm water and add mild soap to it. The amount of soap you add will depend on the kind of soap you are using. Follow your soap's label directions for the best results. After your soapy water is mixed, use your stiff bristle brush to loosen dirt, flaking paint, and so on from the wicker. Use medium force. Brushing too hard could damage the wicker. Take your sponge and dunk it in the warm, soapy water. Use the sponge to clean any caked on dirt, ingrained dust, and so on. Use a 1/2 cup of bleach diluted in a quart, 95 ml of warm water, rubber gloves, and a sponge wet with the bleach mixture to remove and cleanse any mildew and mold from your wicker. Apply the liquid deglosser to the wicker. Allow sufficient time for your wicker to dry before applying your deglosser. The deglosser will remove finish which is often added to wicker to protect it. This finish can interfere with your paint or primer bonding to the wicker. The best method for applying your deglosser will depend on the brand. Follow your deglosser's instructions for best results. Generally, you should put on gloves, then wet a clean sponge or rag with the deglosser. Apply a thin layer of it to the chair from top to bottom. When finished deglossing, allow your chair to dry completely before moving on. If your chair was especially dirty and required heavy cleaning, you may want to let your wicker dry overnight. Applying the paint. Prime the wicker. Apply at least 2 coats of primer to your wicker before painting it. When applying primer, use multiple thin layers for a smoother, better looking, more chip-resistant finish. Shake your spray primer thoroughly and then apply it by pressing its applicator button. Spray it evenly onto all wicker surfaces, including crevices and in between weavings. Wear a dust mask when priming. When priming, keep your arm straight and use sweeping, left to right motions. Start from the top of the furniture and work your way to its bottom. Keep the spray applicator a few inches away from the wicker. For most kinds of primer, the benefits you receive from extra coats stops at 5 coats of primer. Save primer by applying no more than 5 coats. Primer is especially important when changing colors or when covering over dark colors. Be sure to prime in these situations. Touch-up drips and runs. Because wicker is so contoured, drips, runs, and unevenness in your primer are likely. Use a clean sponge or paintbrush to smooth any drips, runs, or unevenness so your primer coat is smooth throughout. After touching up, allow your primer to dry completely before adding another coat. The wait time for your primer should be indicated on its can. In most cases, you can expect your primer coats to dry fairly quickly. Spray paint the furniture. Shake up your spray paint thoroughly. In the same fashion you applied your primer, you'll also apply your spray paint. In most cases, it is best to paint from top to bottom, though you may want to paint the underside and less visible parts of the furniture before painting its main parts. Much like primer, multiple thin coats of paint will look better and be more chip resistant. Use at least 2 thin layers of paint and no more than 5. After you are finished spray painting each coat, check for drips, runs, and uneven spots in your paint. Use a clean sponge or brush to touch up these so each coat is smooth and even. Give your first coat sufficient time to dry completely before adding the next one. The paint will likely be dry in a few hours, but wait 2 days before using the furniture so the paint fully cures. Adding depth to dark colored paint. Collect your tools and supplies. You may have many of these supplies already on hand, but anything you're missing can be found at your local hardware store or in the home improvement section of a general retailer. This technique works best with dark colors, like green, brown, and so on. You'll need drop cloth, dust mask, mask, hair dryer that has a cool setting, paintbrush, 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 brush, paintbrush, 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 brush, paintbrush, paper towel or clean rags, rubber gloves, safety glasses or goggles, sponge, stain walnut colored, coat your painted wicker with wood staining. But before you do, check your wood staining's label instructions. Always wear gloves, a dust mask, and protective eyewear, like safety glasses or goggles when working with staining. You may also have to mix the staining before using it. Then, take your paint brush and liberally coat the entire surface of your wicker furniture. Apply your staining in a similar fashion as you would normal liquid primer or paint. Start from the top of the furniture and work your way to its bottom. Use long, regular, overlapping strokes when applying your staining. This will help you prevent missed spots and will promote a smooth application. Touch up drips and allow the staining to dry. Use your brush and paper towel or a clean rag to smooth out any drips, runs, or uneven spots in your staining. Pay close attention to cracks, crevices, and corners as these are common trouble spots. Encourage drying with your hair dryer. The crevices formed by the weavings of the wicker can result in those nooks and crannies drying slower than others. Set your hair dryer to the cool setting, plug it in, and use it to blow air into crevices. While blow drying, the force from the air may cause staining that is still wet to puddle unevenly on the furniture. Use your brush and a paper towel or clean rag to smooth these areas. When the nooks and crannies of your wicker furniture begin to look dry,